you remember what it was like the day you were born and what it would be like when you die? What is life? What is grief? And what is loss? Does life, grief, and loss go hand in hand? Or can they happen apart from one another? How do you handle grief and loss in your life? These and many other questions are what I want us to be discussing. My name is Janet. I'm a public health nurse and a counselor, and I am a member of the Church of Christ. My first glimpse of a dead body was when I was a child. It made me to wonder because of the experience I had. My first day of witnessing life evaporating out of the human body left me with a lot of questions. And my first time of experiencing the loss of something dear to me made me curious about these questions that I want us to discuss. This curiosity actually drove me to research a lot about the experiences of others, of what life and death actually meant for the dying person and their loved ones. My findings and that of others is what I want us to be discussing. With certainty, I can conclude from my findings that the hardest things we have to face in this life as humans is loss. It is of certainty that we shall all experience loss in our lifetime. Loss of anything we value causes us grief. So grief is a natural reaction to loss, which means that we grieve personally. Grief is personal and it's private because we value and experience things differently as humans. Grief can be as a result of the loss of a loved one, the loss of possession, identity, the loss of safety, dreams of expectations, broken engagements, the loss of a body part, the loss of a career, betrayal, illness, or even sorrow for something someone had done or failed to do. Grief can actually cause us anger. It can make us to be silent. Grief can cause us frustration, denial, sadness, pain, temporary or long-term depression, and it can even wake suicidal thoughts. So what does it mean to lose something? I want you to take a minute of your time and think of the worst loss you have ever suffered and consider these questions I want to ask you. Can you think of something good that has come out of it? Did it draw you closer to God? Have you ever seen your prayers answered because of this loss that you experienced? Have you been able to help others because of this loss? Do you have more compassion for others because of what has happened to you? If the answer to these questions is no, then I would say that you have stopped living life. Did anyone grieve in the Bible? I think they did. Grief and loss can be seen from the Bible in the beginning of time, when Adam and Eve lost their place in the Garden of Eden. Abraham lost his wife, as accounted in the book of Genesis. Job lost everything. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers. What can be more painful than that? Ruth and Naomi, they were women who lost their sons and husbands. Jesus, as accounted in the book of John 11:35, wept for the loss of his friend Lazarus. You can also share some other accounts you know from the Bible in the comments below. What does it then mean to live or die? Death or loss is certain. which means we live to die, because each day we live brings us one day closer to death. Have you ever seen or touched a dead body? I have, many times. When life leaves a body, it begins to stretch. Have you ever seen a flower withering? If not, go get a flower and study its characteristics when it was alive and its process of dying. It will help you understand better what it means to live and die. Nothing in this world matters to the dead body. Our hope then, our hope of living eternally on earth, makes us to rush through living life. As humans, we need hope. We need hope to survive, but the hope of living eternally on earth is a false hope, because it makes us fill our spaces with material possessions. Do you remember that time you visited that wicked auntie for vacation? The hope of you returning back home after some few weeks made you to survive time you had there. We need hope, but we need a better hope. A hope that understands that dying is living. The hope that Christ's teachings brought to us, that we will live just as He did and we will die as He did. The hope of a better world that is promised to all believers, as promised in the book of Revelations 21, chapter 4. That He will wipe away every tear from our eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning or crying or pain anymore. For the former things, which is this world, would pass away. This promise is only to Christians. And if only we can accept this as Christians, then we can live a richer and fuller life. We can embrace each moment as it will never ever come back again. And that is the meaning of life and living. What is the purpose of life to you then? If we consider Naomi and Ruth, God had a plan to meet their needs and restore their faith and joy. He used their hopeless situation to get them back to the land where He could bless them. How can we then bypass sorrow and grief just as Naomi, Ruth, Joseph, and Job did, and still expect to develop emotional and spiritual maturity? God always has a higher purpose for His people. He is faithful to use our most painful times to mature us, to draw us closer to Him. This and many other questions we will be discussing in our next episode. Stay blessed and live life to the fullest till we meet again.